I want to ask you a few questions because I really like some of the stuff I'm seeing that you're putting out about my laziness when it comes to caring for the leaves in my lawn and the good that it can do. So tell me how not picking up our leaves is actually beneficial to our yards.
Okay, so the leaves are a source of nutrients. So when you allow the leaves to remain on the landscape, they recycle those nutrients back into the soil system. And they are also a source of organic matter. So that improves the structure of the soil. It lets water infiltrate better. It has a better balance of air and water in the soil system when you improve the soil structure. You can't let a thick layer of leaves lay on your lawn because that will exclude light and it won't allow the lawn to grow properly. It can't photosynthesize without light. But if you use a mulching mower, you can chop up those leaves and let them filter right down into the soil um, in amongst the grass leaves. Or you can rake the leaves off your lawn into a surrounding landscape bed or into a pile that you then use to compost those leaves.
Okay. So a lot of like in my neighborhood, I see a lot of people and landscapers bagging up leaves and sending them off to be going somewhere. So I'm curious, first of all, where are they going and is that beneficial?
Well, no. I mean, that is taking a resource which should be put back into the landscape and sending it away. Why would you do that? Why would you get rid of resources that you have available to you? Um, Sometimes, if you've got an appropriate kind of ordinance in your town, those leaves might be taken to a composting facility where they're composting the leaves in bulk and then they're reusing them, which is certainly better than the alternative, which is going to a landfill where it fills up space and never really gets recycled back into the ecosystem. Um, but even if you have a municipality that recycles leaves in, some municipal site, you're spending resources to transport those leaves to that site and then maybe back to your property as compost when you could just be doing it all on your own property.
Gotcha. Okay, but the leaves, once they're kind of just hanging out for a while and maybe get rained on and packed down, is that creating any sort of issues as far as increased mosquito activity or other bugs or critters we may want to keep an eye out for?
So, as I said, you want to remove them from the lawn. So, you wouldn't have a thick layer of leaves on the lawn. The ones that are in a landscape bed um, will start decomposing right away. If you think about a forest, nobody's raking the leaves out of a forest, right? And forest soils are some of the richest soils we have. Are they providing a breeding ground for mosquitoes? No. Mosquitoes really need a layer of standing water. It has to be like, I don't know, something like an inch or half an inch of water. And you're not going to get that kind of layer of water for mosquito breeding. In fact, leaf litter is good for a lot of insects. A lot of insects overwinter in leaf litter. And as you sort of posed the question, you posed it as if insects were negative, and a lot of people think that, but only 2% about of the insects are pests. 98% of insects are either beneficial or of no consequence to humans and are actually really important for the rest of the food chain. So birds feed their young with insects. So there are many birds that is their only diet, insects, particularly caterpillars. So if we don't have leaf litter to support caterpillars overwintering, we're not going to have food for baby birds. Also, all of our pollinators are dependent upon leaf litter. So to have crops pollinated, to have plants pollinated in general, to produce new seeds, we need to be able to have leaf litter for those insects
What about our lawn? So we want to get the leaves off the lawn. How can we care for our lawn in the fall? Some tips on how to keep it healthy, maybe while also being conscious of the earth.
So, the first thing I would say is use a mulching mower and mulch up the leaves and return them to the lawn. When you do that, you need to apply a third less nitrogen to the lawn than you otherwise would be applying if you were managing an intensely managed lawn. So, we usually say about 2 pounds, maybe 2 to 3 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet for a highly managed lawn. You could bring that down to 1.5 to 2 pounds of added fertilizer, of added nitrogen, if you're recycling your leaves. So, other things to think about with lawn care in the fall. Fall is the right time to fertilize. It's when grass plants are growing roots and they're growing shoots in the form of tillers, which are just little shoots that are produced right next to existing grass plants, and rhizomes, which are underground stems, and stolons, which are above ground stems. All of that is making a healthier, denser turf, which is what we want. When you fertilize in the spring, which is when a lot of people think you should fertilize your lawn, you're promoting grass blades growing. Well, we just cut them off. So why are we promoting growth that we then have to cut off? Wouldn't it be better to make our lawns healthy and dense? And that's what fertilizing in the fall does. And if we think about natural systems, that's why leaves fall in the fall, because that's when plants need the fertilizer the most.
I like it. This is a very holistic view of lawn care. Kind of, it makes things a lot easier too, it seems.
Hmm. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Don't
Well,
do extra work that you don't need to do.
I will not. Thank you for that advice. Anything else you want to add about fall lawn care?
I want people to think about lawn as an important component of their landscape. Grass is the only plant that we can walk on, that we can play on, that we can use as a gathering space. So it's very important, but we should be designing those spaces that we need. And then everything else in our landscape should be something else. It should be a landscape bed. It should be a forest grove. It should be a meadow. It can be some other alternative type of landscape that would provide more ecosystem services in water management, in carbon sequestration, in cleaning the air, in supporting wildlife, in engaging humans in the pleasures of the landscape. It's, very few people find it super pleasurable to walk on a lawn, yet they would love to walk on a forest path. So, engaging people in the landscape can also happen by choosing something other than lawn. So lawn, I'm not saying get rid of lawn. I'm saying be purposeful with your lawn, and then don't just have lawn from property line to property line. Have your lawn where you need it and want it, and then have something else for the rest of the landscape.
Hey, thank you so much for watching. While you're here, check out some other videos you just may like.